Hello everybody, welcome to Update Tuesday. It is March 10th, 2020. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. So far so good here. Of course, super busy as always. And I feel like I'm running a little bit behind today, so my blog post might not be up quite as soon as it normally is. But hopefully won't be up too late tonight, so you'll be able to look at it tonight. I'm going to straighten my camera out just a little bit. I feel like I'm a little bit crooked. There we go. Hopefully that's better after I moved it the wrong way. All right, that looks pretty good. At least better than it was. So we're going to use the Rise and Shine stamp set. This is the stamp set that Stampin' Up! Highlighted today in their Succeed weekly email that they send to us demonstrators. And I used this just the other day for a cute little card that I made for a card swap. But the card that I'm making today is one that Stampin' Up! Highlighted, so it's really, really adorable. I wanted to let you know that the Rise and Shine stamp set coordinates with the Cup of Cheer dies. Now, these are not in the annual catalog. They were in the holiday catalog, but they have moved over, so you got to look them up online if you want them, but they're called Cup of Cheer. And there is a Christmas stamp set that goes with that as well. So if you look at the holiday stamp sets, and it might even be called Cup of Cheer, I can't remember what the name of the stamp set was. But anyway, the dies are called the Cup of Cheer dies. So we're going to use this gorgeous stamp set. And here's the super adorable little card that we're going to make. Isn't this fantastic? I absolutely love this card. When I saw it in the photo, I was like, I really have to make this. I just think it's a great way to use that stamp set without using the coffee mugs. You know, so this has absolutely nothing to do with coffee, but it's using that Rise and Shine stamp set. On the inside, I just stamped one of the little heart tags, and that's pretty much it. It's super easy, but it takes a little bit of time. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on stamping. So just get some scraps of Whisper White. It doesn't have to be a whole sheet of Whisper White. Just get some scraps. And you're going to need Pool Party, Blushing Bride, Granny Apple Green, and So Saffron. So we'll start with So Saffron. And what we're going to need to do is stamp the little tag, and you're going to stamp it 3 times each. So now you can stamp it just like that, but I recommend if you are using a photopolymer stamp that, I'm going to set my ink on this side, that is a solid image, and this is pretty solid other than the heart that's cut out. You are going to want to just have this underneath because it will help make your image better. And what I mean by better is sometimes you'll stamp and you get some little blank spots that aren't quite stamping through. And that is just from not having that cushion behind that photopolymer stamp. Because our red rubber stamps already have that cushion, but the photopolymer stamps do not. So using this paper piercing mat is the perfect thing to do. Now you can space these pretty close together because you're just going to cut them out. So you don't have to worry about leaving space between them. Now, if you wanted to, there is this die here. This little die here, we'll cut them without leaving any white around the edge. If you use the bigger tag looking die, you'll leave some white around the edge. But we don't want white around the edge, so you can cut it out with this little die if you want to. For me, it was easier just to cut them out by hand. Much quicker for me to do that versus trying to run them through the die cut machine. So let me know if you're here. Say hi if you're on. Give me some love by just letting me know you're here. I appreciate you watching. Oh, I see Donna's on. Hi, Donna. How are you? So then the last color to stamp would be the pool party. So just stamp your pool party. I feel like I might need to re-ink my pool party. It's looking a little lighter than normal, but maybe once it dries, it'll be all right. Luckily, I already have some of these stamped and cut out, but I wanted to show you how I did that. So I've got my whole pile of supplies here. I'm just gonna dump all my little hearts off. So what I did was I took all of the hearts that I stamped and I just took my little paper snips and just cut them out, and I just cut out the top and the bottom first, and then I took one of my little hearts that I already cut out and I kind of lined it up, and then I just cut alongside of that on both sides. So then to relatively make all of the hearts the same size. They're not going to be perfect. You're going to have some that are a little bit smaller than others, and you might have a little bit crooked, and you can fix that as you go along. If it's too horrible, just stamp it again and redo it. None of them are going to be 100% perfect anyway. Unless, and even if you cut them out with the die, you still have to trim them off to make them fit this card. So it's not going to matter. And because I cut all of these ones using the same, it doesn't matter which one I pick up to use as a template. So I'm using one of the Blushing Bride ones this time instead of the Granny Apple Green ones. And just cut them off. And obviously you'll have some little pieces left. And then just stack them up with their little color. Pool party. You got your Granny Apple Green. There's one of the Granny Apple Greens with my pool party. So Saffron and Blushing Bride. All right. So the next thing I did was just take a piece of Petal Pink cardstock, fold it in half, and of course I'll have all my measurements on my blog later when I finish that. I can't tell you how busy it was just an insane day. Normally I have everything done on my blog before I even start my video, so then all I have to do is download my video and put it all on there. Yeah, it didn't quite work that way. Today I was like trying to type and mix up medication at the same time and trying to eat something. It was just insanely crazy. So now this little guy, this little Whisper White rectangle is cut out using the Stitched So Sweetly dies. These are in the January mini catalog. These are fantastic. I love these scalloped rectangles. They're so cute when you're using them for a project. It just adds just a little bit to them, so they have that scallop and then they have that little stitching around the edge. So what I did is I lined all of my little hearts up onto my scalloped rectangle, and right now they're not even, but get them all on there and then kind of straighten them out the way you want them. And you could do them in any order. It doesn't have to be this order. This just happens to be the order that Stampin' Up! Had theirs in on their card, so that's the way I did it. And when you see my blog, see, I can see this little green one is a little wonky on that edge, so I'm just going to trim that off. When you see my blog post, you'll see this background was supposed to be different. That background was supposed to be, and I believe it was Whisper White. I couldn't quite tell. Look, Fruit Fly in the craft room. I don't have Fruit in the craft room. I don't know why he's out here. Just coming to visit us. All right, so, and I'm going to show you what I did. I tried to make it the way they had it. Their little border had all of the little X's and O's, these little X's and O's stamped on the background, just row after row after row. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it this way, because they had them right next to each other, so even Stamparatus would not have worked because it would have put them too far apart. So I thought, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna lay my ruler down. I'm gonna stamp XOXOXO, move it down, stamp it across again. Okay, well, because I was in a hurry, I thought I'll stamp a few rows at the top and then I'll stamp rows down the side, then I'll stamp a few rows at the bottom. So what I did was I did 3 or 4 rows at the top, 3 or 4 rows at the bottom, and then I did this right hand side, and I was getting ready to start the left hand side, and I looked at it, and this is what I had. I was going so fast and not paying attention to how even my spacing was and my rows were that I just have this wonky X's and O's all over the place. Does not look really fantastic. Doesn't look so cute when you've got your card stuck on it either, because you can see how horrible those X's and O's are lined up. So I said, you know what, never mind. We're going to use a piece of Bird Ballad Designer Series paper with the petal pink and the white polka dots. Works perfect. So when you see their photo versus my photo, it's going to look a little different, and that's okay. I just did it, I think, a simpler way. Simpler for me anyway. All right, we can move these hearts out of the way because we've already got some cut out. So what I did was I would just take one off at a time. I'm going to go through this entire process with you because we need this for the front of our card. Put a dot of your Tombow multi-purpose glue. Go to your next one. It doesn't matter which way you go. You can go up the row, go top to bottom, left to right. It doesn't matter. You just have to get all 12 of these glued on, and you know that. And the reason I use Tombow and just a dot of it, because you can move these around a little bit, and that way you can get them where you want them without any problem. You don't have to try to peel them back up. You still have a few seconds to move them around. And now herein lies the problem, because I can't just keep going left to right because I don't want to try to slide this over. I'm just going to start back up here. We'll get that last pool party one in line, and then we'll take 2 off and work our way back in. And it doesn't matter. Obviously, this one was the one that was originally in the top space, and I just swapped them out. It doesn't matter. Just get them all layered in there. And I guess I could probably do 2 dots of glue and be done with it. Wouldn't have to worry about it. So have you used this stamp set, Donna? Do you like it? I think you're still on. I hope you're still on. If not, I totally understand. We all have busy lives. Sometimes you gotta check out and come back. I have used it a couple of times already, and I do love it. I think it's a really cute stamp set. What's the best thing about this stamp set? It is a free celebration item between now and the 31st. So if you want this stamp set, you have to get it before the 31st. It is free, I believe, with a $100 purchase. And the reason it's not free with a $50 purchase, the reason it is a $100 purchase is because these stamps are reversible. So you are basically getting, 4 mugs instead of just 2, and 2 tags instead of 1, and 4 flowers instead of 2 flowers, because these are all reversible. So when you see one of our stamp sets that has the darker image and then that gray image where the stamps are, that means those are reversible. So of course that's on the stamp case. If you see in the catalog, it'll tell you that they're reversibles. And what I like about the reversibles is it shows you all the stamps in here, so you realize, okay, I'm not missing any. Because you might think, oh, I have 4 mugs in here. You don't. You can just flip these mugs over and stamp on either side, which is so fantastic. And you can do the same with this little tag stamp that we used. All right, so once you have that done, let's get this adhered to the center of the card. And then the last thing we have to do is make our sentiment. And it's super easy. We're going to do some heat embossing. Hi, Lois. How are you? Thanks for joining. All right, so what I did with the heat embossing, because all we want from this sentiment is you've got this. I mean, it says you've got this, but first, and then it, you know, normally you would put coffee or tea or whatever else you want to put there. But we just want you've got this. So you're going to take a Post-it note and stick that over the bottom. So now all we have is you've got this. Get your embossing powder ready, your Versamark, and then the first thing you want to do is use your embossing buddy and go over this. Now this is a 1/2-inch strip of Petal Pink. We're going to cut around that after we ink this up. So just ink it up, and then you're just going to take that Post-it note off because you don't want any of that excess ink getting on here. And then I just made sure I stamped just that top part of the sentiment on here, even though we didn't get any of that bottom anyway. But we're going to cut this out a little bit more because we don't need it a 1/2 inch thick, but that's just what we started with. So let me set that aside. I'm going to get my heat tool out. I'm going to turn it on. Of course, it's a little loud, we know that, but you got to get it hot. So I'm going to turn it on for a second before I start. But I don't know if you can see that white embossing powder on there right now, but once it starts to melt, you'll see it. And it's kind of hard to heat emboss with the camera over the top because you can't really see what's happening. But what's happening is that embossing powder is melting, and it is creating that embossed, textured sentiment on here. And I like to go back over it a second time just to make sure it's good and melted. And once it's all melted, you just stop and let it cool for a second. You don't want to touch it right away because it will be a little hot. And it's pretty much cooled off by now, but you can see where now you've got this on there. So we're just going to cut this out because we don't need it this wide. And sometimes it's easier just to have it a little bit wider than what you need it when you're stamping. So that way, if you accidentally stamp it a little bit crooked, you can still cut it out. So just flip it over and get some mini Stampin' Dimensionals, which I had here right at the beginning underneath my stamp sets. There they are. Take your pick tool, use your pick end. And I just put one at each end and one in the center on this because that's plenty for this little piece. Take your adhesive backings off. Take your pick tool is rolling into me here. You'd think my desk was on an angle. It's not, I promise. And then you just put your you've got this right there. On the inside, we are going to put a piece of Whisper White cardstock. And on that piece, I just used Pool Party. And then I used that little tag that we used before. And I'm gonna get that matte again before I stamp. Sorry for my reach across the thing here, but I have a lot of things piled up over there and I didn't wanna knock them all over. So I just stamped that little tag in the corner on an angle. Get some adhesive on the back of it. You could use your Tombow. Of course, for this, I like to use the snail adhesive. That's my preferred adhesive for this part. And then just get that on the inside of your card and you are done. You have finished this card. It is so simple, super cute, and unless you actually saw it, would you have thought that it came from this Rise and Shine stamp set? I would not have thought it. I would have thought, no, there's no way. But you just stamp those little tags, cut them out, and you've got them. And like I said, the cup of cheer dies, if you want, you can run them through and cut them out with the die and then just snip the ends off a little bit. But for me, it was just easier to cut them all out by hand. It took me less time. And sometimes when I'm in a rush, obviously, I go for what takes less time because I need to get things done. So I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. Thank you for joining me. Share my video with your friends if you like. One last reminder, I wanted to let you know that today is the last day to order March's Paper Pumpkin Kit. It has enough supplies to make 12 cards, and this is the box that it's going to come in. It's spring themed. It's called No Matter the Weather, I think is what it's called. And so I hope you sign up. I believe you have to sign up by like 11:50 Mountain Time tonight if you want to receive the March kit. So head over to valeriesmith.stampinup.net, order a prepaid subscription, and you could actually, if you did a prepaid subscription and then you ordered those cup of cheer dies, depending on what subscription you ordered, you could possibly get this stamp set for free and then make some of these gorgeous cards. So I hope you have a great Tuesday evening. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you join me again next week. Bye.